The Oath of the Last Days. Chapter 1, A Sudden Storm. In the early summer morning of 2025, a global outbreak of a virus that has never been seen before was struck. The virus is menacing and has swept the world in just a few days. People's skin begins to turn blue, their eyes gradually lose their luster, and their body functions rapidly decline, and eventually they turn into irrational and uncontrollable zombies. It was a silent catastrophe, and it was as if the world had been swallowed up. All the big cities fell into dead silence, and the once lively streets were no longer noisy, replaced by endless desolation and fear. Only a handful of people survived, either because they were immune or because they had escaped the spread of the virus by chance. These survivors have faced countless zombie chases and dangers, and there is only one goal: to survive. Chapter 2, The Vow and the Journey. The main character, Thunder Shock, was originally an ordinary engineer, but he was lucky enough to survive this sudden disaster. In Lei Tingzhen's heart, there is a person who can't let go of him, is named Wen Ruyan. She is Lei Tingzhen's fiancée. On the night of the outbreak of the virus, Wen Ruyan chose to stay at home and wait for rescue in order to push the thunder away. Lei Tingzhen endured reluctance and pain, holding on to his promise to her, and vowed to save her no matter what. However, over time, Thunder Shock gradually found changes in his body. He felt that he was no longer as tired as ordinary people, and in some cases, he was even able to resist the attacks of zombies with speed and strength beyond ordinary people. All this change made Thunder Shock deeply confused, and he couldn't understand it and couldn't explain it. The only thing I could do was to carry a gun and a backpack on my back and start that long journey of 2,000 kilometers. Chapter 3, Loneliness and Danger. Thunderquake's journey didn't go well. Along the way, he experienced countless hardships and obstacles. The number of zombies is increasing day by day, and every inch of land is filled with the smell of death. What's even more terrifying is that in such a post-apocalyptic world, the survivors are becoming more and more ruthless. Some armed groups have formed different factions with survivors, and there are frequent clashes for resources and survival. In a clash with armed groups, Thunder Shock suffered heavy losses. He is forced into an abandoned building, where he meets a survivor who shares his fate, Suruyun. Suruyun, a doctor, like Lei Tingzhen, was inadvertently chosen by this disaster. Her family has long since died of the virus, and her encounter with Thunder Shock is like two wandering lone stars colliding together. Suruyun told Lei Tingzhen that she had heard a secret about the virus. A group of scientists were studying the possibility of a virus mutation, and they speculated that the outbreak of the virus was actually a process of natural selection, and some survivors might evolve into a new species, and such mutations could be related to the changes that occurred in Lei Tingzhen. Chapter 4, The Mystery and the Truth. Lei Tingzhen and Suruyun gradually built deep trust and affection in the difficult survival. The two fight side by side to explore this barren land in search of Wen Ruyan's whereabouts. With each zombie attack, Thunder Shock found that he had more and more physical strength and reaction speed, and he began to no longer be afraid of night attacks, and was even able to sense the danger around him in the dark. Such a change made Thunder Shock suspicious, but he also realized that this abnormal ability in his body might be the only clue to the ultimate goal. Over time, his body gradually grew stronger, and he could even engage in close-quarters combat with zombies. One day, during an exploration, Lei Tingzhen and Suruyun came to the site of the original virus research center. They found worn-out documents and videotapes that revealed that scientists had tried to create an evolutionary version of humans with a super-powerful immune system by modifying genes. However, the experiment failed after the virus outbreak and most researchers did not survive. Lei Thunder suddenly realized that the mutation of his body was one of the experimental products of these scientists. He began to wonder if such a mutation meant that he, or the other survivors, could become a future hope for human evolution, or a new danger. Chapter 5, The Choice of Life and Death. With Lei Tingzhen and Suruyun's in-depth exploration, they finally came to a place that was only a few hundred kilometers away from the city where Wen Ruyan might be located. However, the city has been overrun by other survivor groups and is extremely dangerous. Lei Tingzhen had a strong premonition in his heart: Wen Ruyan might be somewhere in the city. But when he and Suruyun prepare to infiltrate the city, they encounter an unimaginable betrayal. Tsuruyun tells Thundershock that she is actually a member of a survivor group that has been operating in the area for a long time. Her real purpose is to introduce Thunderquake into this area and use his special abilities to create a group of evolutionary humans to use as weapons in the future. All this shook the Thunder's heart. He originally thought that Tsuruyun was in the same boat as himself, but the truth was so cruel. Tsuruyun's betrayal filled Lei Tingjin's heart with pain and confusion. However, at this moment, Thundershock's body underwent an astonishing change. His gaze became extremely sharp, he could see through all the dangers around him, and he could even detect Tsuruyun's inner struggles and contradictions. A trace of remorse flashed in Tsuruyun's eyes, and she finally let go of the entanglement in her heart. Thundershock, I was wrong, and I don't want to be their tool. A strong determination surged in Lei Tingjin's heart, and he told Tsuruyun, I will not let this disaster end here, whether it is for me or the world, I have to find an answer. Chapter 6, The Final Battle. In the end, Lei Tingjin and Tsuruyun teamed up to successfully break through the survivors' defenses and find Wenruyan. In a fierce confrontation, Thundershock found that a new power seemed to be brewing in his body, which allowed him to fight those zombies more fiercely, and even control their movements. He understands that this apocalyptic crisis is not simply a game of life and death, but also a profound choice about the future of mankind. With the awakening of the power in his body, Lei Thunder finally realized that whether it was the fate of Tsuruyun or Wenruyan's future, he would become a changer in this world. Chapter 7, Rebirth and Sacrifice. As Lei Tingjin and Tsuruyun finally succeeded in rescuing Wenruyan, the three of them traveled through the ruined city together and began to march towards the survivors' shelter in the distance. However, as the journey progressed, the changes in Thundershock's body became more and more noticeable. He found that not only was he able to heal his wounds more quickly, but even after coming into contact with the zombie's blood, his body was not affected in any way. All these mutations made him gradually understand that the evolutionary gene in his body is not an ordinary immune response, but an extraordinary ability produced by the fusion of viruses and human genes. One day, as the trio traveled through a vast wilderness, Thundershock felt that the abnormal changes in his body had reached a critical point. His muscles and bones began to expand, his vision and hearing became sharper, and he was even able to use some mysterious power to control their behavior during contact with zombies. The stronger this power, the more he could not control the fear in his heart. He couldn't help but ask himself, was this mutation an evolution, or a symptom of humanity's demise? Tsuruyun noticed the abnormality of Thunderquake, and she understood that the mutation of Thunderquake was not a simple biological change, but the product of virus and genetic experiments, and all this was precisely the unfinished human evolution plan of scientists. But as the mutation deepened, Thundershock's mood became more and more irritable and uncontrollable. Tsuruyun began to worry about whether Lei Thunder would completely lose his humanity and become a monster who could not communicate with others. Thunderquake, we have to find a way to control this. Tsuruyun said earnestly, if we don't control it, your mutation will not be able to turn back, and you will eventually be swallowed by this virus. But I can't stop. Lei Tingjin's eyes revealed confusion and pain. This power has been deeply integrated into my bone marrow. It kept me from looking back. Perhaps, this is the only way I can survive. At this moment, a huge explosion was heard in the distance, shaking the entire earth. Shocked by the sudden explosion, the three quickly took refuge in a nearby bunker. Lei Tingjin and Tsuruyun invariably had a premonition of fear in their hearts. This explosion might be related to the shelter they had been looking for. Chapter 8, The Ultimate Choice. The trio made their way through the ruins of a ruined city to a heavily guarded military base. It is said to be a refuge for the last survivors and the final destination for virus research. Thundershock's strong premonition told him that there were many hidden answers about his own mutations. After entering the base, Lei Tingjin, Tsuruyun, and Wenruyan were taken to a hidden laboratory. In the laboratory, Lei Tingjin saw a familiar face, his father, Lei Qixian. It turned out that Lei Qixian had participated in secret research on virus mutations and human genes long before the outbreak of the virus. At that time, his father had predicted the catastrophe and kept some of his research results in secret. Father. Thundershock's voice trembled, and mixed emotions welled up in his heart. Lei Qixian glanced at his son deeply, and his tone was heavy. Thundershock, I always thought that I could control all this, but I didn't expect things to develop so quickly. The mutation you possess is actually the result of a wrong experiment of mine. I originally just wanted to find a cure for the virus, but I didn't expect to inadvertently create a human Superman. Well, all this mutation is my mistake. Lei Qixian continued, my original purpose was to let humanity defeat the virus, but I didn't expect that this mutation would bring more unknowns and fears. Little did I know at the time that these genetic modifications would make such a huge difference to you. Lei Tingzhen was silent for a while, and at this moment, his heart was filled with countless questions and unspeakable pain. His existence is no longer an ordinary survivor, but a product of experimentation, an unpredictable mutant. Is he the hope of humanity, or the beginning of extinction? Thunder shock, Wen Ruyan said suddenly, interrupting the silence, you are our last hope. If you are not willing to go on, this apocalypse will not end. You have the power to change the world now. A hint of determination flashed in Lei Tingzhen's eyes. I can't give up this world, I can't give up our future. Whatever this force brings, I have to face it. However, at this moment, the air defense alarm of the base suddenly sounded, and the zombie army from the periphery had already besieged the entire base. Thunder Shock knew that this was the final battle and they had to make a choice. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 9, The Decisive Moment. When the base's defenses began to crumble, Thunder Shock didn't hesitate, knowing that he was the only one who could stop the catastrophe. He told Suruyun and Wenruyan that he would go to the core area of the base and use the equipment there to destroy the source of the virus. Thunderquake, this is too dangerous. Suruyun dissuaded, you can't go alone, your mutation is close to the limit. It's the only way. Thunder Shock said firmly, I can't wait any longer. If I can destroy the source of this virus, maybe we will have a chance to start over. In the final battle, Lei Thunder Shock fully stimulated the mutant power in his body, broke through many obstacles, and came to the core laboratory of the base. Here he activated the system, ready to destroy the source of the virus. However, at this moment, he felt a powerful wave of consciousness, as if some kind of force was fighting back against him. Thunder Shock, you're wrong. That familiar voice sounded, it was the voice of his father, Lei Qixian. You think destroying the source of the virus will solve everything, but you're wrong. The outbreak of this virus is not accidental. It is the inevitable result of evolution, and you are the ultimate form of evolution. On the screen in front of Lei Tingzhen, a picture of the evolution of human genes is displayed. The combination of viruses and human genes will bring about a whole new world, which is an irreversible process. Thunder Shock took a deep breath, he understood that none of this could be changed. All he can do is choose how to face this future. In the end, Lei Tingzhen decided to use his life to redeem a glimmer of hope for this world. He initiated the self-destruct program, and at this moment, let this virus catastrophe come to an end once and for all. Underscore 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 un. Ending, the dawn of a new world. A few days after the sacrifice of Thunderquake, the source of the global virus was completely destroyed, and the existence of zombies gradually disappeared. The survivors reunite and begin to rebuild the shattered world. However, in the midst of the ruins, some new hope is sprouting. Thunder Shock's name became a legend in this new world, and his vow was finally fulfilled. He used his sacrifice to create a new starting point for future mankind. This is the end of the end and the beginning of a new world.